Question 8. In this question, we have to sketch the curve y equals to 2x minus 5 times 2x plus 1, where the domain lies from minus 1 to plus 3. In our sketch, we have to state the coordinates where the curve meet y-axis as well as x-axis. So at first, let's find the coordinates on the x-axis. On x-axis, y coordinate of any point is 0. Therefore, we can write 2x minus 5 equals to 0, which gives us x equals to 5 over 2. That means x equals to 2.5. Similarly, for 2x plus 1, we can write 2x plus 1 equals to 0, which gives us x equals to minus 1 over 2. That means x equals to minus 0.5. So now let's find the line of symmetry which goes exactly the middle of these two x coordinates. So line of symmetry x equals to 2.5 plus minus 0.5 divided by 2. So x equals to 2 over 2, that is 1. Now let's find the y coordinate on the curve where x equals to 1. So at x equals to 1, substituting x equals to 1, we get y equals to 2 minus 5 times 2 plus 1, which gives us minus 3 times plus 3, that is y equals to minus 9. Now let's find the y-intercept of the curve. At y-intercept, x equals to 0. So substituting x equals to 0, we get minus 5 times 1 equals to minus 5. Now we have every coordinates and every information in our hand. So now let's draw the y-axis. Now I need to draw the x-axis, so let me draw the x-axis. Here I have drawn the x-axis. Now let me put some values. On the x-axis, minus 1, minus 0.5. On the right hand of the y-axis, we 1, 2 and 3, but we need 2.5 as well. So here is a 2.5. Now we need to mark minus 9 on y-axis at the lower part of the y-axis. So here I have also sketched a dotted line which is y equals to minus 1. Now I am sketching another dotted line, that is x equals to 1 on the which is our line of symmetry. So these two dotted lines meet a certain point which will be the turning point, and the coordinate of this turning point is 1 minus 9. Now I need to sketch other two dotted lines. At one is at x equals to minus 1 here, and the other one will be at x equals to 3. Oh, it's not on x equals to 2.5. Sorry, I've drawn the wrong line. Let me erase it. Yep. So now at x equals to 3, now let me draw that line x equals to 3 here. So I have drawn these required lines which will help me to sketch the curve. So let me start sketching from x equals to minus 1. The curve will go through minus 0.5 on x-axis, minus 5 on y-axis, then it will come down to the point 1 minus 9. Here it will turn and will start moving upwards, will go through the point 2.5 on x-axis and will touch 3 x equals to 3 line. So we have roughly sketched or correctly sketched the given curve. So first part of the question is done. Let's move on to the second part of the question. Here we have to state this coordinate of the stationary point. So as we know that the stationary points occur at the turning points, so turning point is the stationary point. Starting point is the stationary point. Since we know the coordinate of the turning point, that is 1 minus 9, that will be the coordinate of the stationary point as well. So we can write coordinate of the stationary point, coordinate of the stationary point is 1 minus 9. So second part of the question is also done. Now let's move on to the last part of the question. Let's adjust the view. Okay, yep. Here we have to sketch the same curve, but this time it is under the modulus and the domain remains the same. So let me extract some information to draw this curve. Here, since it is under the modulus, that means no part of the curve will be negative. No y coordinate will be negative here of this curve. So I can write since modulus, so y-intercept will be positive 5. In our earlier curve, the y-intercept was negative 5, but this time y-intercept will be positive 5. In our graph that we sketched earlier, that has given us a minimum point, but it will be reflected to give us the maximum point where the curve will turn. So at maximum point we will find our turning point. Our previous turning point was 1 minus 9, but this time turning point will be 1 9. Again, only the y coordinate becomes positive. So now we have the information. Now let's start sketching. At first we need to draw the x-axis first. So let's draw the x-axis. Okay, I have drawn the x-axis. Now I need to draw the y-axis. So let's draw the y-axis here. Okay, so y-axis is done. Let's put some values again. Minus 1, minus 0.5. Then on the right side of the y-axis, 1, 2 and 3. We need 2.5 as well. This time the curve will not go through minus 0.5 and 2.5, rather it will be reflected on those 2 points. So I need to sketch 3 more lines. So x equals to minus 1 line, I have drawn a dotted line. Now let's move on to the x equals to 1, which will be the line of symmetry. So I am drawing x equals to 1 line as a dotted line. At last I need to sketch x equals to 3 as a dotted line. So at x equals to 3 I am drawing the dotted line. Now let's mark the positive 9 on the y-axis, on the upper side of the y-axis. So here it will be the 9 here. Now start sketching. So the curve will come down to minus 0.5, but it will not pass, rather it will reflect, and it will start moving upwards. By crossing the y-axis at 5, it will come to this turning point, that is 1 9. At 1 9 it will turn and start going downwards. So let's continue the sketching. It will come to 2.5. Here again it will be reflected and go upwards to touch the line x equals to 3. So here it will go like this. Okay, so now let's write the coordinate of the turning point, that is 1 9, and then y-intercept is 5. So this last part of the question is done. Now let's move on to question 9.